Hey everybody, welcome back to Media Arts with Mr. V. Here is one of the most important points I want to share with you in your course here, the difference between raster and vector graphics. This is really important to media arts and graphic design so you understand what type of graphics are out there and what kind of applications they have. Raster graphics are computer graphics. Um, this definition is a little bit lofty, but I'll read it to you and then I will break it down. In computer graphics, a raster graphic or bitmap image is a dot matrix data structure representing a general rectangular grid of pixels or points of color viewable via a monitor, paper, or other display medium. What this means is that all pictures that you see on the internet or printed out are made out of little dots called pixels. And they're different colors placed very closely together to create the overall image that you see. This type of graphic then is used for pictures, obviously. Bitmap is exactly what it sounds like. It's a map, a square map, and the computer is saying, at this location, this pixel is green. At this location, this pixel is red. And by putting all of those together very close to one another, you're creating a bitmap image which blends together to your eye to create a picture. A vector graphic is different in that, again, I'll read the definition, then I'll summarize. Vector graphic is the creation of a digital image through a sequence of commands or mathematical statements that place lines and shapes in a given two-dimensional or three-dimensional space. In physics, a vector is a representation of both quantity and a direction at the same time. What this means is that instead of relying on dots or pixels to create an image, the computer draws a line per se, and it's a series of dots that make up a line, right? You could have a start point, an end point, and a perfect curve that creates an arc matching the two together. So a vector graphic is drawn using shapes instead of using little dots on the screen. And this is a little bit confusing, but I will show you some examples and that will help to wrap your mind around it. Here is a really good example of what the two look like side by side if you were to blow them up larger. On the right side, I'll start first with the bitmapped or raster image. As you can see, as you get up close and see the individual pixels, it's just black pixels on that dot matrix or grid to create the picture. On the left-hand side, the computer has drawn a dot or node and then another dot or node and told there's a mathematical sequence to show, hey, we want these two dots to connect and have this type of curve. The beauty of the vector graphic is this. As you blow it up, bigger or smaller, it never loses quality because it's a shape. So it's not made out of pixels, therefore it can never become rasterized or look like this when enlarged. So the raster graphic, on the other hand, if you enlarge it, you can see the individual pixels. You can lose kind of quality to it. A vector graphic is different in that it's called a scalable vector graphic. It can be big or small, never loses quality per se. Some different file types that we use for the different types of graphics. For raster graphics, these are all of the file types that you typically associate with pictures, such as JPEG, maybe a GIF, or a PNG image. A vector graphic, the standard is SVG, standing for Scalable Vector Graphics. So .svg, that is for vector graphics. So just to show you the two different file types, we use two totally different computer programs for making these two types of graphics. Everything that has to do with raster graphics is Photoshop for this course. Everything to do with scalable vector graphics is Illustrator. Both Adobe products in the Adobe suite. One application where you would want a vector graphic for sure is with a logo design. And the reason for that is your logo has to be perfect. It has to be something that can be scalable. You might want to have your logo on a hat, but you might want to have it on a billboard as well. So your vector logo has to be scalable, and therefore you would use a scalable vector graphic to create a logo. You wouldn't want to make a logo raster or in Photoshop because for the same reason you might want to blow it up for certain applications, you might have to send it or use it for different purposes, and you would not want your logo to be created in a raster program such as Photoshop. You want to use Adobe Illustrator to create straight lines and a smooth vector graphic. Here's some other vector image formats. For us, we're using Adobe Illustrator. That's all you have to really know about that for right now. This gets a little bit confusing because you can create a vector image where things are smoothed out. If you wanted to blow up an image very large, such as on a billboard, you would probably need to change an image into a vector and simplify it slightly to make it so it does not distort or become pixelated, or rasterized as it is enlarged. Raster applications, however, do have also a very wide application of purposes. Anytime you're manipulating a photo, you would want to use Photoshop. So here, photo manipulation, photography, cutting things out, or photo montage, all things you would do with Photoshop. However, here we see the application of text in combination with an image. So in this instance, you could have a vector and a raster graphic living simultaneously. The person or the picture is raster, and text is vector because text has to be scalable, right? In any word processor, you're able to change the size of text, and that's because all text is made out of vector shape, so they're easily scalable from small to large. Vector, again, anytime you need something to be perfect, a logo, you're using a vector application using Adobe Illustrator to create a perfect shape. Here's an example of a logo, Apple logo in this case, blown up very large. So for this purpose, you would want this to be perfectly smooth shapes created in a vector software. I hope this has helped to clarify the differences between vector and raster graphics and given you a little bit of an idea of their applications.